spite of the snow, I don't know how much we're going to, maybe 4 to 6, they said, but you know, I would have been, we might not get very much snow. That's okay. We can get a foot. Jennifer said 3 foot, so, you know, it's okay. That's okay. All right, let's all turn to page 100. Our choir's all warmed up today, so we're going to sing In Excelsis Deo, page 100, please. He's got a tractor, he pushes snow, so you might want to talk to him about like shaking hands as we sing these last 3 verses. Shepherds, why this we believe, why your joy and strange what their black sunshine sing, visions like your heavenly song. We're soldiers of the Lord, right? And we're here for praise the Lord. Brother Terry, would you come take us to the Lord in prayer, please?
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for your love and mercy, just everything you do for us. Lord, as we have time to celebrate the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays with family and friends, help us remember our soldiers and our service. We pray for them and keep them safe, Father. They're not coming home for the holidays. We just pray they will come home safely someday, Father. Be with the congregation, Father. Be with Brother Dubs. He brings our message tonight. Lead, guide, and direct this church and use us, Father, that your will be done. We give you the praise and the honor for it all. In Christ's name we ask. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Anti-social.
Well, good evening. As Brother Donnie pointed out, as you guys all already know, it's starting to snow out there. And if you do not have a cleaner ice scraper for your your car, you're out of luck because your cars are completely covered in snow. So we'll have to figure that out for you. But I do want to remind everybody, I'll just to remind you of a few things. Please remember, next Sunday morning we will be having our Christmas cantata, the adult Christmas cantata. The kids did a great job this morning, didn't they? They did a great job. They really did. So they're going to have the adults next week. Also, too, do not forget Christmas Eve service at 6 o'clock here at the church. We'll also be having our opportunity music celebration on December 29th, that Sunday evening here at the church. So remember, if you have some songs you want to sing, bring those out. If you have some things you'd like to share at the church, a poem or other things, I know people have done that in the past, to please come out to do just that. Also, too, don't forget the chili cook-off that we're going to be having January 11th. I know there's some names signed up back there, but I know there's more than 5 people in our church. So come on, I know there's more than 5 people who can make chili, okay? So come on out for that. It will be an opportunity to have a lot of fun. We're gonna have some awards for sign-ups and for best chili and all that kind of stuff. And just so you know, how many of you have ever wanted to be a judge before in a contest? Right? Everybody gets to be a judge in our contest, okay? There's not just 1 or 2 people or 3 people. Everybody's going to have the opportunity to do that. So please come out and do that as we have the opportunity to get on January 11th here at the church. It's a Saturday evening, so 5 o'clock. We just have the time starting at 5, and we'll stay here as long as you want to, and have a good opportunity fellowshipping together with one another. So again, I'll say welcome tonight. I'll give this back over to Brother Donnie. I know he has one other announcement that he would like to share with us.
I just got to say one thing about the chili. If you would have put a chili eat off, it would have been a lot more people sign up. But they would sign up to eat chili. Okay, see? But you know, listen there, all right. Nancy had found a lady this morning that, and I don't know where she found this lady yet, but she's got breast cancer. She can't get out. She's not doing real well at all. And I think it's her daughter has asked that people would come and carol at her house. And unfortunately, it's on Wednesday. And so Rick is going to do the music here. And if you could want to go and sing and carol at this lady's house, she said 2 or 3 songs might be all that her mom would be able to listen to because she's that bad off. But if you'd like to come and be here at 6 o'clock, Nancy's going to take us to where she's at. We'll sing 2 or 3 songs or whatever, and then we'll come back. So if you want to do that, just be here at church at 6 o'clock, and I'll try to remember. I'm bad about doing that. Right, Rex? I'm bad about dinner. But if you be here around 6 o'clock, and she wanted us there about 6:30. So if you'd like to do that, be here at 6 o'clock, okay, Wednesday night. Let's all turn to page 96. Give Christian men and ladies rejoice.
Jesus Christ was born to save.
And that's who we worship. Brother Briggs, would you bless all?
Father, we want to thank you because it's good to be back in your house again. We want to ask you to take this offering and use it to further your kingdom. Or we want to ask you to watch over us as we go home this evening in this weather. We want to ask you to watch over the ones that couldn't be here with us tonight. And Lord, help us to remember to take something out that door tonight that we can share with somebody. And help us to take time to think about the reason for this season, Christmas, and tell somebody about that. Lord, we ask that you use us, guide us, direct us, and forgive us when we fail you, Lord. And we want to tell you that we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Nobody else brought one? All right, Richard, come right ahead, sir.
I was waiting to see a bill of materials the same day.
We might turn the baptistry on one time. They might sing in the shower and everything.
Good evening, everyone. All of you that brave to come out tonight. I'm just going to do a couple of very traditional Christmas tunes. If I can remember what they were, I'd tell you.
Senior moment.
Senior moment, yeah. It goes all day long, starts looking up. How about? He's not agreeing with me. Oh. My buddies, I got pals around here. If there was a bus in the ball, he's throw me in. Anytime, Wayne. You trying? Everybody should know this. Come on. All is calm, all is right. Sunday night. Shepherds quick at the sign, glorious train, heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Yeah. Let's see. Gee, I wish I could remember what the next one was. I have a wife. Let's see what we got there. Boy, that's hard to see. The report is made, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. Oh, the stars in the sky look down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the bed. Oh, the cattle are lowing, the poor baby waits, but the little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. The lovely Lord Jesus, look down from the sky. Oh, stay by my cradle till the morning is nigh. Hear me, Lord Jesus, I ask thee to stay close by me forever and love me, I pray. Bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and take us to heaven, live with thee there. You, Jesus.
It's really hard to imagine that Christmas is already here, isn't it? I thought it was very interesting as I was looking through the book of Ruth tonight. And the whole idea of redemption, the whole idea that we as people were so utterly lost that we needed and still need a Redeemer. And it's amazing to think as we go through the world, what it has to offer, go to different places, and the world it's never understood that concept. And I'll be honest with you, the more I study, and I guess the older that I get, I think a lot of times the church doesn't have a clue either. We really don't. We get caught up in so much stuff and forget what God really has done for us. Guys, let us remember Christmas every day of the year, not just at Christmas time, right? Redemption is something that we need because we need to be redeemed. We need to be set free. And in order for that to happen, we needed to have a Savior. But before a Savior could be born, God had to put all the dominoes in place, right? And that God had to have a plan, and He had a plan for you. He has a plan for me. He has a plan for His church. He has a plan for this world. And that plan involved bringing and giving His only Son to this world so that He could live for about 33 and a half years, that He then in turn would hang on a cross and die for us, and then live and rise for us. So the worldly part, or the earthly, the human side of the story, because there is a human side to it. You see, Jesus Christ had and was fully human. And we celebrate this every year at Christmas time, the fact that He was born for us, the fact that He came to us. And I want us to never ever forget just that whole idea that we need redemption. And we're going to be in Ruth chapter 3, okay? So I want us to see here. Now remember, Ruth is coming back. Naomi has changed her name. Ruth, her husband died. Naomi's husband died. Her sister's husband died. And all of this, and she's coming back, and she has started to work in the field of Boaz. Now remember, God does not do anything by accident, so it was not just a coincidence that she's working in the field of Boaz. So here she is, and we're going to see what happens. It says, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Now Boaz, whose young women were with him, is he not our relative? In fact, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Naomi says, I got to tell you something about Boaz. He's a relative. He's a relative. In fact, he is going to be down making all the crops that they have picked and all the things that they have done. They're going to be down there, and they're going to be winnowing the barley tonight at the threshing floor. So she says to her, I want you to know something. When you read the Bible, there's some really interesting stories in there, true stories that we need to learn from. And it's interesting because sometimes you want to say to yourself, why did God choose to use certain people and to choose to do certain things with people? You read the stories of, especially in the book of Genesis, where God, with Jacob and Esau and all these different characters that they were characters, some of them, let me tell you. Here tonight we see Naomi going, I got a plan. I got this plan. Ruth, listen, I got this plan. This guy Boaz, he's a relative. And listen, this is what he's doing tonight. He is going to be down taking care of some barley. The barley that you were, gleaning after the field, and he's going to be down there. You don't think Naomi had a plan, did you? She knew what she was doing, didn't she? And of course, God's using her. And here she is. She's saying to her, this is what you have. Now listen to what he says. Now listen. Ruth, you need to go do something. Clean yourself up. Okay? Notice what she says. She says there in verse 3, therefore wash yourself and anoint yourself. Put on your best garment and go down to the threshing floor. Now, here you go, Ruth. You've got to pretty yourself up. You've got to make yourself look really pretty for Boaz. But why? Did you notice the first part of this chapter, what it said? It said that Naomi was concerned about the fact that her daughter-in-law needed security in her life. I don't know if you caught that or not. But she says to her right there in verse 1, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you? And listen, we all know, I don't know about you guys, but when especially when you're dating someone, you always wanted to look your best, right? After you get married and the years go along, sometimes you try to, but it doesn't always work that way. There's a commercial out right now that this guy, poor guy, it's a fabric softener commercial. This poor guy has a V-neck t-shirt on. Have you seen that one? And, you know, I'm thinking, man, if that would have been my wife, but she would have been, see you later, dude. You know, come on. She's a pretty basic lady in that commercial, right? So he didn't work real hard at making himself look nice. So here we see Naomi saying, get yourself looking good. Get yourself cleaned up because you need to go down to the throne. Listen, first of all, I want you to think about this. I remember when I was a kid, every year in Medaryville, Indiana, my uncles were up there, and every year we would go to the farm and we would butcher hogs. You ever do that before? It is such a clean job, isn't it? Right? It is such a clean job. So every time I think of this story, here she is getting herself all cleaned up to go to a threshing floor. Okay? Here she is going down, and I'm not talking, it's not a pig pen or any by any stretch of the imagination, but here she is, she's going down here, and Naomi says to her, get yourself cleaned up. Christian, one of the things we need to remember is we got to get ourselves cleaned up too. Okay? God wants us to be cleaned up. He will clean us up. We've got to let him do so. And here she is going down, and Naomi is saying to her daughter-in-law, go down, get yourself cleaned up to the threshing floor. Now, but it goes on, it says this, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. It's interesting in the Old Testament, boy, they always do a lot of eating and drinking. Boy, did they get him into trouble. Okay? So don't take the second part of that very, okay? So you can do the eating part. Stay away from the drinking part, because I promise you they weren't drinking water, okay? And so they're going down, and they're there. Then it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies. And you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do. Now remember, ladies, I want you to imagine for a moment your mother-in-law says, get yourself all prettied up. Run down to the threshing floor where the guys, well, they're supposed to be down there threshing the barley, but they're down there eating and drinking and having a good time. And now you need to go down there, and when you find out where he lays down, you're supposed to go and uncover his feet, you're supposed to go down there, but don't let anybody see you. How many of you would have said, right on top of that? Right? No. But here we see Naomi, and here is Ruth going through. One of the things here that we have to understand here, as most of you know, I grew up in Crawford, Indiana. Okay? To me, Indianapolis was the South when I was growing up. Okay? When I was growing up, I believe I had come to Indianapolis once in my life. Okay, one time. I went to as I was at Indiana State, one of the words that I heard when I first moved there is, we're going to go Krogering. I have no idea what Kroger is. Never seen it before in my life. Okay? Where I grew up, we had Jewel and Osco. Okay? A&P supermarkets and so forth. I had no idea what Kroger was. It mean nothing to me. I thought that's weird. Must be a Southern thing. Okay? You see, culture plays big in things, doesn't it? Okay? One of the things that we have to remember, even in America, we have a lot of cultures. We have a lot of cultures, and sometimes we make fun of each other because we don't understand culture. Okay? When we first moved to Wyoming, one of the things that you find out there is what families do is they will have lots of property. Okay? Right now, I can go put you guys in 150 acres piece of property for about $30,000. Okay? So you can go out there and you can get yourself a lot of property, a lot of land. What a lot of families do, culturally, what they will do, especially have those huge pieces of property, is they will all live on that property. Mom and Dad will put a house over here, because Mom and Pop's built one over here, and Uncle Joey brought one over here, and this person got one over here. That was just a culture thing. That's just the way a lot of people do it. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And sometimes you first want to see that and go, that's weird. It's different. Well, Naomi was who? She was a Jew, right? Okay, so Naomi was, and Ruth was not. Ruth was a Moabite. Remember, they moved from Israel to Moab, and then they came back. And so one of the things that Ruth is not going to understand is culture. All right? Why? Never lived there. Okay? Never lived there. When we lived in Alaska, one of the things that you learned very quickly is that you always took your shoes off before you went into someone's house. You never asked, you just did it. Okay? When it rains 100 inches of water a year on you, it's pretty muddy. So it was a very cultural thing to take your shoes off. Cultural language, how about words? Are words cultural as well? Sure they are. Okay? When we lived in Alaska, one of the words that you learned very quickly was the word outside. Okay? And the word outside meant simply I'm leaving the state, I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to the lower 48, or I'm going to this place or that place. That was just cultural words that you learned. And one of the things that, if you wanted to make inroads in the Native communities, where Jennifer and I were not in part of Native communities, but the Southern Baptist Convention, the Alaska Baptist Convention is that you would go into those communities culturally, and you would have to do things culturally, just like Paul talked about when in Rome. And I remember the state executive director one time, Cloyd Sullins, he said to me, he goes, I got to tell you something. I do not remember the name of the town, I just know I believe it was up on the Arctic slope or somewhere thereabouts. And he said, I went to this town and one of the first things culturally you have to do is you meet with the elders first. You just don't go into a town and assume anything, you'll get in big trouble. So he went in and he said, we had this meeting and we were making a pact together. And they gave us, I do not remember if it was whale blubber or seal blubber, but either way it was blubber. Okay? And he said, here, and that's how they wanted them to, they were fellowshipping and so forth. He said, I had to go outside because I thought I was going to lose it all. Okay? How many of you guys have ever had Eskimo ice cream? Has it been? No, you've got Eskimo ice cream? I'll tell you what Eskimo ice cream is, okay? It's not Ben & Jerry's or anything like that. But what it is whale blubber that is melted with berries put into it, hardened, then you eat it. Okay? So this is all culture now. Remember, this is culture. It's very important to understand. So here's Ruth. Culturally, she has no clue what's going on. She really doesn't. Here she is. She's got her mother-in-law, Naomi. Her mother-in-law, who's they tell us there, if you notice earlier, it says she has come back to Bethlehem. Okay, back to Bethlehem there in chapter 2. So culturally, this is one of the things that they did culturally, and there's also part of this was part of some of the Israelite laws that they had. So here's where they were at. There in verse 2, I just want to remind you, this threshing floor is kind of a public area. It wasn't a private thing that was owned by Boaz. It was very much there. And it separated the wheat from the chaff. Okay? And Boaz would have been there sleeping, not because he had gotten himself too much to drink, but because he was going to protect his barley. Okay? He may have been a combination of both, but at the very least protect his barley. And here she was. And she was going through here. What she literally was saying is that when she went down and uncovered his feet, and she looked, and symbolically what this was showing is that she was saying, I depend upon you, Boaz. Okay? She would have made the feminists very, very angry. Okay? She said, this is what it is, Boaz. I completely depend on you. Guys, do you think we need to completely depend upon Christ? Absolutely we do. And, you know, there's so much going on, and we need to completely trust in him. So here we see him. And if you notice here, she says to him that, hey, you do whatever. He said, sit down next to him and do whatever it is that will have you to do. This also shows very much a whole idea of submission, you know, to him. So now we're going to continue on here. So it tells us here, I'm just going to tell you what it says there for us in verse 7. It says, after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful. He had had a little bit too much. He went to lie down at the end of a heap of grain, and she came slowly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. You know, it's nice to see that God's people don't have to be perfect, isn't it? It's nice to see that sometimes God will use us even despite of ourselves. And here we see, again, very much common practice, unfortunately, even today, for people to spend so much time doing partying and so forth. But they were celebrating what? Harvest. Exactly, harvest. So they were celebrating this. So now we see this. So she went down and she laid down next to him. So literally, what was taking place is that she's saying, you know what? Now you have to make a decision. Ladies, how many of you asked your husband to marry you? Okay, nobody raised their hand. That's okay. Well, this is really what Ruth was doing. Okay? She was literally laying down at his feet in submission, and she was saying literally to him, I totally depend upon you, and that I want to be with you. Okay? So this is literally what is taking place here. And so all of a sudden, she has made this a very, very bold prediction here of what it is that was going to happen. Now, it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, who are you? He probably even had a heart attack at that point. Okay? He opened up, he turned over, and there's this woman at his feet. Listen, he was a Jew. Okay? He was of the family, we know from the lineage of Jesus Christ. We know Boaz is there. We know that he was just a little bit removed from King David. So we know this. So he understood these customs as well. Okay, he understood all this. He would have understood this. And here she was. She was right there next to him, laying at his feet. And if you notice here, I want you to see something here. She was in verse 9. It says, and she answered, verse 9. And he said, who are you? So she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative. I am your maidservant. I want to be with you. Take me in. You are a close relative. Now, have you guys ever played the gossip game before? You guys ever played the phone tree game? You guys ever live in a little tiny town and everybody knows everything about everybody, even if it's not true? Okay? I promise you, Boaz knows who Ruth is. Okay? I'm not saying he necessarily is going to remember her name and so forth, but he would have known who Naomi was. There was a big celebration almost going on. Hey, she's come back. So now here he is with her. Here she is. Talk about an awkward circumstance here. Okay? Very awkward. But here she is with him, and he's literally saying to him, you are my close relative, which means you are my what? The kinsman redeemer who needs to be in my life. All right? So, I want you to know something. Talk about panic might have said here. By the way, we do know from later that Boaz is like, there is one closer. Okay? There is one closer. But here we see this, we're going to go on here. He says this to her in verse 10. He says, very simply, then he said, blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter, for you have shown me kindness at the end, that at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do all you have that you request, for all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman. He just complimented her, didn't he? Absolutely he did. And here he is saying, everybody knows who you are. You know, one of the things that we need to learn from this as a church is I hope people see our church as virtuous. That they see every church as being a church that's virtuous, has virtues, that people can see God through us. We're not responsible for something what other church does. We're responsible for what God has brought us here to do. And I hope that we can say, and people see us, that we're virtuous because of our love for God. And here she is there, she is making these things and working towards this, and she is going about this according to this law. One of the things that I want to back up for just a moment here in these verses, in verses 10 through 13, okay? I want to share with you about the law, all right? The law that they had, and they called this the Levite law, okay? So the whole idea of marriage. And I want to read this to you and share this with you because I want you to see this. One of the things that happened is we have things today very similar to what took place with Ruth and Naomi and so forth. That we have it in the idea of a will. Okay? And when someone passes away, generally how that works is they will things over to whomever they choose to do so. Well, it was standard practice during Jesus' time and still in many places around the world, not so much in America any longer, that the oldest would automatically get everything they inherited from their parents. No questions asked. Okay? Didn't have to write a will, it's just something they knew was going to happen. So here, one of those things that we also have to understand here is that if two brothers, as in this case we have with Ruth, that they both passed away not leaving children. You see, it was a big deal. Do you guys realize today in America that it was not for immigration, okay, that America actually would be on the losing side of growth? Did you know that? Americans are not having children any longer, okay? I'm not making this up, okay? We're not having children. If it wasn't for immigrants coming into our country, there would be a net loss for growth in America. So now here we see this, they don't want that to happen. So Ruth, in order for the son, or excuse me, her husband's side, to keep the name going, the property going, all these things that she was to, the brother was to take her into to have child with her so this could continue. But what happened? That both the brothers died. Right? We talked about that earlier. Naomi said, what? You're going to wait around for this, right, to take place? So we see that this is part of this whole conversation that they were not, that you did not hardly ever hear about ladies being left, what? Inheritances. Okay? It happened a few times in the Old Testament, but in general, that just did not happen. So this is what this is all about, so that she can have that the properties that the family had continued in that family lineage that is there. And guys, as Christians, we need to be thankful that Christ died for us so we could inherit eternal life, inherit it. And this is what Ruth is going to play a vital part in that for your salvation and for my salvation and for the salvation of the world. So here we see this. Now, it's early in the morning, and if you notice there, we're going to go on here in verse 13. It says, "Stay this night, and in the morning it shall be, if he will perform the duty of a close relative for you good." Back in verse 12 it says, "There's one who's closer than you, a relative. However, there is one who is closer than I am." He says, "But if he does not want to perform the duty for you, then I will perform the duty for you. As the Lord lives, lie down until morning." So he has just told her. I think maybe her bubble got burst a little bit. I think it probably may have. It's possible. Because who has she been focusing on for this whole harvest season? Boaz. Who did her mother-in-law say that she needed to focus on? Boaz. And all of a sudden Boaz goes, oh. Okay? So here we see her, though she's a faithful woman. Ruth is a faithful woman. And here we see her being part of this. So he says, lie down. Verse 14. "So she lay at his feet until morning, and she arose before one could recognize another. Then he said, 'Do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. Don't let it be known that you were there.' So, and also he said, 'Bring the shawl that is on you and hold it.' And when she held it, he measured 6 ephahs of barley and laid it on her. Then she went into the city." So he gave her even more to be taken care of. Do you think Boaz loved her? I think so. I think she caught Boaz's eye a long time ago. And so now she literally, listen guys, he didn't propose to her, she proposed to him. Okay? So here we see this taking place. We see her making sure that this happens. So now we're gonna see her go back home. Okay? Guys, one of the things that I learned from this morning from our kids, you guys learned anything from the kids' cantata this morning? If you didn't, we'll watch it on YouTube again, okay? Because hopefully you learned something from it. Because the fact of the matter is, what they said is, we've got to make sure people are told. Okay? I picked that up this morning. That make sure people are told about Jesus Christ. Now, one of the things here that Ruth is going to have happen here, and she goes back to her mother-in-law, and she's going to tell what happens. Okay? Verse 16, "When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, 'Is that you, my daughter?' Then she told her all that the man had done for her. She went and told her. Okay? In American society, they would have said kissed and told. Okay? So she's going home and she's going to tell her mother-in-law everything. This should be exciting news, shouldn't it be? Because remember, what did Naomi do? Naomi said, we need to get you taken care of. You need to have security in your life. And guys, it happened in one night. One night. So don't anybody, I mean, I've heard people say, well, that didn't take very long before they got married. I think we better walk saying that, because here we go, Boaz and Ruth, it sure didn't take them very long, okay? So here we see them taking place. We see them that she's very much wants to be with him. He wants to be with her, but the hang-up is what? One closer than him. So here we see this taking place. And she says, the 6 ephahs of barley he gave me, for he said to me, do not go away empty-handed to your mother-in-law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. So he's not going to waste any time. How many of you can say that you're a procrastinator? Anybody procrastinate? Depends on what it is, right? It depends. It depends on what it is. But for the most part, I think people have a tendency to be a little bit of both at times in their life. Here is Boaz. I'm going to tell you something about Boaz. He is not a procrastinator. Because we're going to close chapter 3 and go right into chapter 4. He's going to be going right down and doing exactly what he said that he was going to do. You see, God has his hand in all of this. God is watching over her. God is watching over Boaz. God is going to redeem her. He is going to do so because we needed and need to be redeemed. Remember, God doesn't do anything by accident. Ruth is part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. We know this as fact, that she is a Moabite who married into the family with Boaz. And Boaz ultimately is related to David, who's ultimately related to Jesus Christ. Okay, so we know that all these people are related to one another because they played a part in the ultimate plan for eternity. And tonight, let us be reminded, as Naomi said to Ruth, that Naomi said to her, you need security in your life. Because we have security in our life through Jesus Christ. This is the very beginning of the coming of Christ, and the ultimately coming of Christ just a few years later, okay? Okay, more than a few, but a little while later. So let us never forget that. Make sure that you grab a hold of the fact that you need to have security in your life in the form of Jesus Christ. And when you and I do that, and when our churches do that, guys, I'm telling you, things can happen like you've never thought before in your life. Who would have thought that if you were a Christian here tonight, that Christ would have saved you? That's a huge thing. It's huge. And let us never forget what he has done for us. So tonight, as we close, let us remember just that. Let us remember what he has done for us. Let us remember that he is our security. He is our Redeemer. All we need to do is trust him. Brother Danny, would you come?
Would you stand with us, please, as we sing page 325, Whiter Than Snow. Perfectly whole.
Lord God, I thank you that you love us. And Lord, I just ask that we will just continue to love you back, serve you, honor you, and cherish you. And Lord, I just ask that as we leave here in just a little bit, that Lord, you give us safety as it's snowing outside. Lord, bring us back here safely to worship you in Bible study on Wednesday. And just help us, Lord, to be faithful to you. And I ask in your name. Amen. Thank you for coming out tonight. Hopefully we'll see everybody back here on Wednesday.
You say, oh, we don't have social security, I've said it now. You know what, you telling me?
Well, you keep on saying it.